Being a VIP customer at the Opie Overload experience is a dream of many, but for Isay, this is a reality. After all, he serves Rias Gremory, a top-tier devil with more plot than a one-piece arc. Welcome to High School DxD, where an ordinary boy dies and gets resurrected as Rias's manservant, who uses him to fight evil exorcists and fallen angels. As reward, Isay gets the ultimate service.
Before he died, Isay had the same dream as any common man. He wanted to be buried in massive honkers, ginormous gravity-defying, earth-shattering honka-donkers that could smother the very breath of his lungs.
What the hell?
His friends, Matsuda and Motohama, were also as humble as Isay and shared the same dream. Just then, a group of girls in tight gym shorts run past them. Isay and his friends realize that God himself would have to come down to get their tongues out of those peaches. Suddenly, a look-smaxer with hunter eyes appears, followed by a group of girls, and tells this Chad named Kiba to treat them like a vending machine, push the right spot until something sweet comes out of the hole. However, Kiba tells them he has a date with Walter White and walks away. Seeing the girls gush over Kiba, Isay and his friends deem him as the enemy of humanity. To brighten up their moods, the boys head to the girls' changing room to take mental pictures for their wank bank. Just when it's Isay's turn to ogle, he is caught by the baddies from the sword club. After getting his sword broken, Isay returns to his friends and rants about how unfair his life really is. What he doesn't know is that his life is about to change. Seeing the gorgeous red hair, Isay realizes why men become poets. Meanwhile, in the occult club room, Rias Gremory outwits her right-hand man, Akino, in a game of chess. She then celebrates her victory by letting Akino pick her smelly, crusty peach protectors as she heads for a quick shower. That day after school, Isay ponders over how his life is meaningless when suddenly a female approaches him by calling out his name. Just hearing his name out of a woman's mouth gets Isay's little Isay in a mood to increase world population. In the meantime, the girl shyly tells Isay that she has seen him walk this bridge 1,000 times and ended up falling for his beta posture.
See, the thing is, I'd like for you to be my boyfriend.
After snoozing his alarm, Isay smiles like a pig. At school, he proudly flashes Amano to his friends and introduces her as his girlfriend. As his friends shockingly wonder how Isay managed to riz a baddie, our boy walks away with his boothang like he's got the biggest weenie in town. That day, Amano asks Isay if they can go on a date on Sunday. Hearing this, Isay screams hallelujah and eagerly tells Amano that he's looking forward to it. So once the big day arrives, Isay arrives early for the first time. While waiting for Amano, Isay receives a paper which claims to fulfill wishes. Is scoffs and thinks that his biggest dream was to get a girlfriend that'll make him look like a Make-A-Wish kid, which came true. Suddenly, Amano arrives and Isay tucks away the paper in his pocket and focuses on his date. The young couple do things which you basement dwellers will never get to do. As the day comes to an end, Isay wonders if he should ask Amano to hug him now, but decides to just hold hands for now. Amano then suddenly stops, politely smiling at Isay, and then Isay hears the words he never thought he would ever hear.
Yes, Daddy!
As Amano suddenly transforms, Isay, instead of running, celebrates seeing her tatas. Now taking the form of a fallen angel, Amano pierces Isay with her weapon and states that she was inspired by Tokyo Ghoul. With that, Amano leaves while Isay is left to die in the park. During his final moments, Isay regrets not wasting his babies on Amano's hot body. He then looks at his hand, which is stained in red, making him remember Rias and her hair. As Isay's life continues to sweep from his body, he prays to God that if there is reincarnation, then he would like to be born as Rias's child so he could taste her mommy milkers. Suddenly, a magical circle appears and Rias appears. Before losing consciousness, Isay hears Rias telling him to devote his life to her. Moments later, Isay wakes up in his bed and heads to school like usual. Upon meeting his friends, he asks about Amano and they tell him that they've never heard that name before. Confused, Isay tries to show them the thirst trap she sent him, but is shocked when he only finds pictures of his schlong. Seeing Isay so sad, Matsuda invites him and Madohama to watch a newly launched adult video so they can wank together and become better homies. However, when Isay watches the premium quality PP shattering video, he realizes something is terribly wrong because his majestic throbber isn't reacting to hot girls like it usually does. In the end, Isay decides to head home when he suddenly realizes he can see more clearly than he did in daytime. But that's not all. Isay also senses a strange power coursing through his body and finds his hearing sharper than ever. Confused and terrified, Isay runs to the park where Amano tried to unsubscribe him from life. Suddenly, a man in a trench coat appears, causing Isay's body to tremble in fear. Sensing danger, Isay gets the fatherly urge to run away, but the man one-ups him by flying over him. The creep continues to babble about things which Isay is unable to comprehend until he summons a spear and directs it towards Isay. As Isay falls, gravely injured by the spear, he thinks how being murdered by a beautiful girl was much better. He then tries to touch the lightning spear, but quickly screams in pain upon coming in contact with it. The man then reveals that light is a deadly poison for his species. Just when the man is about to finish him off, Isay calls for help before losing consciousness. At that moment, Rias arrives along with Kaneko and Akino. Seeing the mesmerizing red hair, the man instantly realizes he's in the presence of Ria's Gremory. On that note, Rias greets the man by calling him a fallen angel. Donasek laughs and asks Rias if this scum is with her, and once she confirms, he tells her to keep her pets in check or else he'll hunt them down. With that, the fallen angel disappears while Rias looks at Isay, who is dying, and promises to protect him. The next morning, Isay wakes up and provides unwanted fanservice. While trying to find his underwear, Isay ends up discovering Rias dressed like his ancestors. Rias wakes up shortly and casually tells Isay that she's a devil. But Isay already knows that as Rias tempts him to eat her moist cake. All of a sudden, Isay hears his mom calling him to wake up, not realizing that little Isay has been awake the moment he saw Rias and her gravity-defying weapon of mass distractions. Just when Isay tries to cover up Rias, her mother opens the door and finds Isay exactly in the position his father was in 18 years ago. After shutting the door, Isay hears his mother tell his father that they need to turn off the smoke alarm because their son has a smockin' hot woman in his bed. After all that embarrassment, Isay shifts his energy back to Rias as she asks him if his wound is okay. Isay wonders how she knows about the crazy dream he had until Rias reveals that everything that happened to him was real. Upon hearing that, Isay asks Rias why he is as bare as a baboon, prompting her to reveal that since he got fatally wounded, she had to strip him off in order to share her magical energy with him. Before Isay's imagination can become more colorful than it is, Rias assures him they are both as virgin as the people watching these dumb recaps. That day at school, a commotion is caused the moment Rias steps in with Isay. The students seeing Isay breathing the same air as Rias wonder which god this loser prayed to. Before parting ways, Rias tells Isay she will send an errand boy to collect him later. As she struts away, Isay is punched by Madohama and Matsuda, who ask him how he could betray the Brotherhood like that. Yet despite getting punched, Isay tells them both he got more action with Rias in a night than Eren got during the rumbling. On her way, Rias is greeted by an ugly girl named Sona, who tells her that it's unlike her to recruit people who look like a product of cousin marriage. Rias smiles and says she recently got a taste for Alabama meat and walks off. Meanwhile, in class, Isay wonders when Rias will send a word for him when suddenly, Chad Kiba walks and causing the girls to ovulate before their time. Without caring much for the ladies, Kiba walks up to Isay and tells him he's here on behalf of Rias. Meanwhile, seeing Kiba together with the aesthetically challenged Isay, The girls become worried for Kiba, which pisses off Isay further. Finally arriving at the clubhouse, Isay finds Kaneko minding her business. However, Isay's little Isay instantly bricks up upon seeing Kaneko, whose milkshakes bring all the uncles to the yard. To Isay's delight, he finds Arias bathing and realizes those hips don't lie. They straight up deliver TED Talks. Just when life couldn't get sweeter, Isay is greeted by Akino and her two best features. Now, before Isay can die from excitement, Rias walks in, announcing that it's time for a meeting. Once everyone has gathered, she welcomes Isay to the occult club, but reveals that this is all but a farce. In truth, they are all devils. She continues by informing Isay the ugly man he saw yesternight was a fallen angel who were once servants of God, but got kicked out of heaven when they became too 18+ for God. Since then, these fallen angels have been trying to hurt humans and devils. Unfortunately, the devils have a lot on their plate as they are also being hunted down by the angels. Upon consuming so much information, Isay's brain short-circuits like a vibrating device from Temu. So in order to help him out, Rias shows him a picture of Amano, assuring Isay the girl was as real as balls. When Isay asks her what she knows about Amano, Rias reveals that she is a fallen angel belonging to the same faction as Donaseek. Still confused like the idiot he is, Isay states that his friends couldn't remember Amano, prompting Rias to reveal that the fallen angel used her power to wipe out Matsuda and Matahama's memories just like she did in the morning with his parents. Rias further tells Isay that it was Amano's mission to annihilate him since they suspect he has a dangerous object in her body. At that moment, Isay recalls being impaled by Amano's lightsaber because she believed he had a sacred gear in his body. Akino intervenes, stating that throughout history, great men possessed the sacred gear, and it's a weapon so formidable that it can threaten devils and fallen angels alike. Rias then orders him to raise his wanking hand and imagine the strongest being. Unfortunately, all Isay can think about is how Rias has her thong marinating in coochie gravy. Sighing, Isay states that he gives up, causing Rias to assure him that he can take things slow. Isay, however, tells her that there has got to be a mistake since a wanker like him cannot possibly be special. Rias tells him with surety that there has been no mistake since the fallen angels feared him enough to eat him. Isay asks her that if that was true, how is he alive now? Rias pulls up the paper which claims to grant wishes and reveals that while he was dying, he called out for her. And she answered by making him part of the Gremory family. As his wings come out, Isay finally comes to acknowledge that he is now a devil. Rias further informs Isay that devils gain power through forging contracts with humans. However, in modern times, nobody is invested in bathing in goat blood to call upon a devil, so the devils simplified their terms and started handing out magic circles to those looking for their services. With that, Rias hands Isay a stack of magic circles that needs to be delivered to humans who have consumed too much emo music. Once Rias briefs him on everything there is to know, she sends Isay to deal with Koneko's client. However, when he arrives at the client's house, the man is utterly disappointed to see Isay. Despite the disrespect, Isay asks the hideous nerd if he can help him with something. The man states that since he doesn't have udders, he is useless to him. However, as the night progresses, Isay bonds with the ugly man since they are both unappealing and no woman would touch them with a 10-foot pole. After an unsuccessful night, Isay returns home when he gets an ominous feeling. He turns and finds another fallen angel in a fatherless outfit, but with motherly bazookas. She introduces herself as Kalawana and starts throwing lightsabers at him. Not wanting a hoe to save him again, Isay closes his eyes and manages to unlock the sacred gear. Seeing this, Kalawana suddenly becomes terrified and flees quickly while Isay heads to update Rias. However, when Rias learns he tried to take on a fallen angel himself, she becomes angry and scolds him for being reckless. Isay apologizes and sadly returns home. The next day, Isay still mulls over his conversation with Rias when suddenly he bumps into a girl and catches sight of her holy W. After taking mental notes of Asia's measurements, Isay finally snaps out of his lewd imagination and helps her. Seeing her innocent gaze, Isay and his little Isay quickly reach a conclusion that Asia is totally his type. With that thought in mind, Isay reacts like a man who can't be near schools and wears ankle monitors. Luckily for him, Asia, being a dumb girl, asks him to show her the way since she is lost. On their way, Asia reveals she just got appointed to the town church, so she is glad to meet a nice young man like him. Suddenly, Asia notices a wounded boy and rushes to help him. Isay sees Asia using healing magic to heal the kid, but then suddenly he senses a sharp pain in his hand. Resuming their journey, Asia apologizes to Isay for startling him and reveals that she was bestowed a blessing by God. Once Asia spots the church, she asks Isay to accompany her so she can reward him. However, one look at the church and Isay's entire body trembles in pain. He quickly tells Asia that he'll do his best to visit, causing Asia to become sad, but quickly tells Isay to visit her whenever he likes. Isay smiles and parts ways with Asia, thinking that she is truly a trad wife out of TikTok. However, when he meets with Riaz, she tells him not to go near a church again, as it's not a place for devils to hang around. To further scare him, Riaz tells Isay that if he hangs out with the church crew, then he will be exorcised, and to be exorcised is to fade away. Isay, being a wimp, quickly wets his pants and tells Riaz he'll stay miles away from church, something he would have no problem in doing. After having a stern talk with Riaz, Isay sulks in the common room when he is greeted by Aquino, who asks him if he'd like to smell her onion-scented armpits. Just when their plot is about to build up, Riaz walks in, causing Aquino to change the subject. Instead, she tells Riaz that the Archduke wants them to take care of a stray devil. On their way to business, the gang fills Isay with what it means to be a stray devil. They reveal that sometimes a devil betrays or murders their masters so they can live as they please. Aquino further states that the stray devil they'll be facing likes to lure people in an abandoned house where he would feast upon them. Riaz then tells Isay to watch them closely so he knows how devils participate in fights. Suddenly, two double Ds pop out of hiding, causing Isay to discard all rationality. Meanwhile, Riaz reveals that the devil they're fighting is a visor type, nefarious beings that run away from their masters to fulfill their dark desires. Things instantly get crazy when the stray devil activates her booby traps, quite literally. Seeing the devil's chest missiles go off, Isay realizes that God wasted a god set of tatas on the wrong woman. Suddenly, Kiba charges at the rogue devil and cuts off her hand. Isay, witnessing this, expresses his amazement, causing Riaz to reveal that Kiba is her knight and speed is his strength. Then, Kaneko shows off her talent of strength and defensive ability, prompting Riaz to reveal that Kaneko is her rook. All of a sudden, the rogue devil makes an attempt to harm Riaz, causing Isay to instinctively shield Riaz from the attack. Aquino steps in and finally finishes the devil off with her demonic powers, proving herself as Riaz's queen. And finally, as the king, Riaz obliterates the devil from existence. Once the battle is wrapped up, Isay asks Riaz what his role is as her servant and quickly learns he's a pawn, the lowest in rank. This bums him out till the next day, as Isay acknowledges that he is a complete gutter rat. Finally arriving at the location, Isay enters the house but instantly gets a wicked feeling. However, he recalls that Riaz told him to forge a contract this time or else she'll be disappointed. So not wanting to disappoint the fine shoddy, Isay reluctantly steps in and finds the floor covered in blood. Suddenly, he's greeted by the Kuchi Crusader, Fried Zelzen, a young priest who's part of an exorcist organization. As Fried frantically lashes out on Isay, Asia appears from one of the rooms and screams upon seeing her friend. Isay, embarrassed of himself, tells Asia that he's a devil, but he never wanted to hurt her. Seeing Asia tear up, Fried tells her to get a grip, as devils are their natural enemy. However, Asia quickly shields Isay and tells her boss that Isay is a good devil. Fried scoffs and asks Asia if she really read the whole manual on being a nun because WTF is a good devil. Asia, however, continues to plead for Isay's life until Fried's patience runs low and he tries to punish Asia priest style. Unable to see Asia being violated, Isay calls upon his sacred gun and tries to fight Fried. But of course, Isay is too much of a wuss to fight against Fried. Thankfully, the Gremory magic circle appears and Riaz arrives with the whole gang. Before they can fight, Aquino reveals that their timing is not right. Riaz, understanding danger, tells Isay they're going home, but he pleads with her to save Asia as well. However, Riaz states that only members of her household can use her magic circle to jump. In the end, Isay cries, not knowing when or if he'll ever see his friend again. Isay receives the same hug from Riaz which your parents used to make you. As his body heals, Isay realizes that if this is what Riaz does to heal him, then he's going to enlist himself in attack on Titan's Cadet Corps. Once Riaz is done, Aquino takes over while Kiba informs him that Fried is a stray priest, meaning he has been kicked out by the church and now serves the fallen angels. Hearing this, Isay deduces that Asia must also be a servant of the fallen angels. Yet despite knowing Asia is technically his sword enemy, Isay is still unable to cure his blue balls. In the end, Isay heads to the park to work out, but his upper body strength is as pathetic as his hairstyle. Just then, Isay finds Asia standing before him. Upon arriving at the restaurant, Isay asks Asia why she was there, and she reveals that since she was on a break, she decided to chill out. Seeing Asia in the flesh, Isay becomes happy and suggests they do something fun today. With that thought in mind, the two head to an arcade where the nun shows Isay she can have fun. To further rizz up Asia, Isay wins a toy for her which makes Asia really happy. As she hugs her new plushie, she thinks about how this is the last time she will ever get to be with Isay. On their way out, Isay winces in pain and Asia decides to heal him using her magic. Once she's done tending to his arm, she sits between Isay's leg, making Isay think that good girls really do be freaks in bed. However, Asia just heals him and asks Isay to see if he's still in pain. Isay jumps around and praises Asia for her top-notch healing skills. Since Asia has a praise kink, she quickly opens up to Isay about how her parents abandoned her once she was born, causing her to grow up in an European church. During her early years, she saw a wounded dog and prayed hard for him. It was then a miracle happened and she was able to heal the animal. After that, she was taken to a bigger church where she was ordered to heal illnesses and wounds of the devoted that came from all around the world. However, one day, when she saw a wounded devil and used her magic to heal him, she was quickly banished and branded as a heretic by the church. With nowhere to go, she was picked by the fallen angels and began serving them. In the present, Asia assures Isay that she is not angry at God for what happened. In fact, she wants to work hard so she can fulfill her dream of having multiple friends. Hearing this, Isay confidently tells Asia that she can count on him for friendship despite their biblical dispute. Just then, Amano arrives stating that they can't just exchange friendship bands yet. Asia tells Amano that she won't return to the church with her again as she doesn't want to murder people. Isay finally steps up and tells Amano to shoo away, but the fallen angel summons her light lance, ready to shoo away Isay from the face of the earth. Isay summons his sacred gear, causing Amano to laugh. She tells Isay that his sacred gear is known as the Dragon Hand, which can double his power, but only temporarily. Amano then tells him to leave Asia behind, but Isay rejects her offer and states that he can't abandon his friend. Just when he tries to activate his Dragon Hand, Amano throws a light lance at Isay, creating a makeshift Kuchi on his chest. However, Asia quickly heals his wound, making Isay realize that he can no longer feel pain. Amano, seeing this, tells Asia to come back with her as her sacred gear. Twilight Healing is a rare sacred gear, unlike Isay's useless Dragon Hand. Asia retorts, telling Amano that she knows she only wants her for her power. Amano says duh, as she isn't interested in munching her bush. Despite being weak, Isay tries to be alpha and tells Amano to leave Asia alone, but the fallen angel ignores him and tells Asia that if she comes with her, she'll spare Isay's life. To prove how serious she is, Amano throws a deadly light lance at Isay, but purposely misses to hit him. Seeing this, Asia caves and agrees to go with Amano, who assures Asia that after tonight's ritual, she would be free from all suffering. Now alone, Isay curses himself for being so weak. Returning to the clubhouse, Isay receives a slap from Reyes, who strictly tells Isay that he can't hang out with someone like Asia. For the first time, Isay takes a stand for himself and tells Reyes to kick him out of her household as he's just a lowly pawn and wouldn't be missed anyways. Despite being upset, Reyes tells Isay that he's not replaceable as a pawn is unlike other chess pieces. Moreover, his sacred gear is as destructive as any other weapon as it depends on his willpower, so the greater the willpower, the more destructive his gear would be. Just then, Aquino arrives and whispers something in Reyes' ear, prompting her to leave an S.A.P. Now alone, Isay recalls Reyes' words and how he can gain a promotion if he manages to destroy an enemy of hers. Using his brain, Isay realizes that the church is Reyes' enemy, so he makes up his mind to not only get that early promotion but also save Asia. However, just when he's about to leave, Kiba and Aquino tell him that they're coming along. In the meantime, Reyes and Aquino arrive at the church entrance where they are greeted by a fallen angel named Meitelt. Seeing her ugly face, Reyes mocks Meitelt that her evil pieces just went inside the church without her being able to do anything. Meitelt confidently retorts that her useless subordinates will not stand a chance against the fallen angels. In the meantime, Isay, Kiba, and Kaneko try to strategize when Isay thanks them for accompanying him. Kiba smiles and assures Isay that he is more than happy to lend a hand since he hates fallen angels. Uninterested in a boy's story, Isay resumes the plan, and upon entering the church, he's greeted by Freed. Kiba instantly faces Freed unveiling his holy eraser, a sword of darkness that consumes all light. On the other hand, Meitelt calls upon Kalawana and Donasik to help her battle Reyes and Aquino. Back inside the church, as Freed faces attack from all three devils, he realizes his best strategy is to escape, and that's what he does. Isay and his friends resume their search and finally uncover Asia's whereabouts. However, Amano tells them they are too late as the ritual is about to end. It is then revealed that the fallen angels intend to take Asia's sacred gear, which will also take her life. As Amano gets her hand on Asia's twilight healing, she beams with delight, knowing she has become the supreme fallen angel. Isay finally loses his cool and jumps into battle, ready to cut Amano's wings since she's already maleficent. Kiba and Kaneko clear Isay's path, allowing him to reach Asia at the altar. However, he's too late as Asia weakly falls into his arms. Amano mocks Isay that he can take his broken doll if he wants, but Isay angrily tells her to hand Asia's sacred gear back. Amano states that he got to be kidding her if he thinks she will do that. After all, she lied to her superiors to execute this plan, and since they all witnessed her being a naughty girl, she will slay them all like she slays in this black thong. Isay, now dejected, tells Amano how he truly loved her, which only makes the wicked woman laugh as she mocks Isay for even thinking she would be into a booger eater like him. In the meantime, the fallen angels outside the church are unable to do anything because of Aquino's barrier. So since they can't attack Reyes and Aquino physically, Meitelt resorts to verbal abuse as she tells Reyes how Amano will tear apart Isay. However, Reyes remains steadfast in her belief in Isay, assuring Meitelt that Isay is her strongest pawn. Back at the altar, Isay finally has enough of all the mocking and angrily screams at Amano, causing her to only get freakier. Just when she is about to clap him, Isay takes off with Asia while Kiba and Kaneko assure him they'll take care of Amano's goons. Overcome with gratitude, Isay parts with his new friends in tears and arrives at the deserted church with Asia. There, he assures the fragile girl, he'll always take care of her. Asia weakly tells Isay that she was so happy when she met him, causing Isay to cry. He tells Asia that once she recovers, he will introduce her to Matsuda and Matahama, who might harass her a little, but overall they are good people. Unfortunately, fate had other things for Asia, like dying LOL. Isay breaks down, and since he's in the house of God, he prays to him to return Asia to him since she was a pure, kind-hearted girl. However, his broken pleas go unheard as Isay realizes his soul is as corrupted and broken as the church. Suddenly, Amano arrives, mocking Isay for even trying to pray to God. Meanwhile, Meitelt, Donosik, and Kalawana make fun of Isay and his naivety for falling for Amano's whole girlfriend act until Riaz has enough and unleashes her wrath upon the three fallen angels. Inside the church, Amano shows Isay a wound given to her by Kiba. She then uses Asia's sacred gear to heal herself and tells Isay that she is now unstoppable. Isay angrily confronts Amano, stating that what she did to Asia was wrong. Amano, however, tells Isay that this was Asia's destiny all along, as humans who wield the sacred gear are always shunned and feared. The pain and regret of being unable to protect Asia finally breaks Isay, and he charges at Amano with his dragon hand. Only he is too weak to actually cause any damage to the fallen angel. At that moment, Isay abandons all hope and realizes that he has to go all out to wipe the smirk off of Amano's ugly face. And so, despite the pain, Isay power-ups his dragon hand and blasts Amano away. Just when he's about to fall, Kiba arrives to give him a shoulder. He then sees Riaz and the rest, which allows him to relax. As Kaneko brings Amano back inside, Riaz tells her that she took care of 3 helpers. To further spite Amano, Riaz reveals to her the dragon hand she had been underestimating is actually a weapon which allows the possessor to surpass Satan or God's power temporarily, as it's one of the 13 Longinus known as the boosted gear of the Emperor Red Dragon. Realizing her death is near, Amano transforms into the sweet girl Isay went on a date with. She then tries to manipulate her, only this time, Isay turns away and tells Riaz to do her thing, which she does. With Amano blasted away, Riaz takes hold of the Twilight Healing and tells Isay that they should return it to Asia. As Isay puts Asia's sacred gear back on her finger, he weeps and tells Riaz how he failed Asia. Taking out a chess piece, Riaz tells Isay that Asia can be a useful bishop as she can use her healing powers to help other devils. With that said, Riaz tries to revive Asia as a devil belonging to her household. All of a sudden, Asia opens her eyes, causing Isay to embrace her in a hug. Riaz smiles and tells Isay that from now on, Asia will be his duty. The next day, Isay arrives at the clubhouse where Riaz asks him about his wounds. Isay assures her that his body is fine and ready to be milked if she wants her garden fertilized. Riaz plays along by affectionately telling Isay to always serve her as her mightiest pawn. After kissing his forehead, Riaz teases Isay that perhaps they shouldn't be doing things like this anymore since their newcomer will feel envious. At that moment, Asia appears and becomes all sad seeing Isay being lovey-dovey with Riaz. Just when she is about to rant to God, Asia receives a sharp pain in her head, causing Riaz to reveal that since she is a devil now, she can't pray to God anymore. When Riaz asks her if she regrets being a devil, Asia happily states that she's very grateful because now she can spend time with Isay. On that note, Isay inquires about her uniform and Asia reveals that she will now also go to school with him. Riaz then informs Isay that her father is involved with the school management. She pulled some strings and enrolled Asia in the same school as them. Kiba, Kaneko arrive with Akino carrying a cake to celebrate Asia's addition to their little devil family. The Gremory family rejoices, completely unaware of the trouble headed towards their way. The next day, as Isay arrives at the clubhouse, he finds a plot armor hanging on the clothing line. His little Isay instantly perks up in excitement as he fantasizes about Asia. Just when he's about to enter the bathroom where Asia is, Kaneko boinks him in the head and tells Isay what he is doing is a crime. Just then, Asia arrives in nothing but a towel and asks Isay what he's doing with her plot armor. Isay lies like the XY chromosome he is and changes the topic by asking Asia why she is at the clubhouse. Asia reveals that Riaz allowed her to temporarily stay at the clubhouse until she finds a suitable place for her to live. Later that day, Riaz tells Isay that he needs to build up his physical strength because he is as useless as Sakura. She also informs him that from now on, she will train him so he is always ready for battle. Hearing this, Isay tells Riaz that he is always at battle with his little Isay who wants to do nothing but get squeezed between her motherly bazookas. With that, he heads out to distribute magic circles. The next day, Isay wakes up early as Riaz comes to pick him up for training. Isay tries to tell Riaz that there's another fun way of burning calories, but Riaz has none of it. So in the end, the only thing pushing Isay is his dream of becoming the ultimate harem king. After jogging, Isay does some push-ups with Riaz sitting on his back. And since he's a young man, he instantly bricks up at the thought of Riaz's dump truck touching his back. Riaz instantly catches on to his disgusting thoughts and tells Isay to lock in. Just then, Asia arrives, causing Riaz to halt training. She tells Isay that they are going to his house, which confuses him. However, moments later, it all dawns to him that Riaz has arranged for Asia to live with him and his family. When Isay's parents are greeted by Asia, they ask her why she would want to live with a teenage boy who reeks of jizz and sweat. Asia smiles politely and tells Isay's parents about how Isay has been kind towards her, which is what motivated her to live with a potential criminal. Despite hearing this, Isay's parents warn Asia that their son is a major wanker. Riaz intervenes and tells Isay's father and mother that they can rest assured as Asia intends to be Isay's housewife. This instantly makes Isay's parents, as they were sure their bloodline will die with Isay since he is not only ugly but incredibly stupid. The next day at school, Asia introduces herself to her new classfellows. Instantly, Matsuda and Matahama scan her and note down her measurements as if they were gunning to become tailors. When Asia reveals that she is staying with Isay, his friends quickly gang up on him. As Isay is getting cussed out by Matsuda and Matahama, he smiles seeing Asia bond with the girls in his class. However, his ears perk up when the girls warn Asia to lock her door while sleeping, or else diddler Isay will diddle her in her sleep. After school, Asia rides the bike with Isay. On the way, they both look at each other like they want to make a football club of their own, but unfortunately their journey ends as they arrive at the clubhouse. When Isay tries to greet Riaz, he notices the redhead is quieter than usual. After snapping out, Riaz tells Asia that it's time for her to make her debut. Hearing this, Isay becomes concerned as he believes it's too soon for Asia to forge contracts with humans. Just then, Akino arrives and assures Isay to not worry as Asia is just a rank below her. While everyone congratulates her for being strong, Isay becomes slightly jealous for being outranked by a newbie. Snapping away from his jealousy, Isay realizes that he must protect Asia, no matter what, so he tells Riaz to allow him to accompany Asia for the time being as she is still not familiar with the country. Unfortunately, his wish gets turned down by Riaz and instead, she sends him to tend to clients of his own. Upon arriving, Isay is greeted by Arnold Schwarzenegger in a nurse outfit. Terrified out of his mind, Isay puts on a brave face and asks the bulky gym bro what his desire is. The man reveals that he wants to be a cute magic girl. Isay tells him that in order to achieve that he must get hit by Truck-kun because no devil or angel performs magic like that. The next day, in the gym class, Isay recalls how Riaz was disappointed to know that he was unable to forge a contract with yet another client. This bums him out and he decides to take a nap in the infirmary. When he wakes up, he finds a bare-bottom Riaz lying next to him. Seeing her plots uncovered and ready to be ravished, Isay finds his hand moving on its own. But before he could get any action, Riaz wakes up and tells Isay that if he is that desperate to clutch her biwabs, then he must forge a contract with a human. With Riaz's jiggly wigglies on the line, Isay agrees. That day at the clubroom, Riaz tells Isay she will accompany him too. This perks him up even more as he thinks he can never fail with Riaz by her side. After jumping through the magic circle, Isay and Riaz arrive at an apartment which is covered in historical stuff. They are then greeted by a woman named Susan in a samurai outfit who reveals she's an exchange student who loves Japanese culture. Susan then reveals that her wish is for them to help her retrieve her notes from university. Isay sighs, unsure why he always gets stuck with weirdos, but after fulfilling Susan's wish, he becomes excited for some chest feeding time. However, before his dream is realized, Susan states that she has another wish, revealing she has a crush on a man, but she is too shy to confess. Isay tells Susan that no man would want to dip his winky in her pinky, and this is coming from a boy who is dying to procreate. Riaz punches his head, which does work as he advises Susan to just write a love letter. Liking the idea, Susan does exactly that and then uses an arrow to deliver the message. The next day, Susan's love interest shows up who is as bizarre as her. Seeing them elope, Isay becomes hopeful for himself, and you losers that one day, you and him will both lose their virginities. After completing their job, Isay asks Riaz to reward him with some milkers. Riaz smiles and tells Isay she will count till 5 and once she stops he can no longer touch her. Isay instantly worries which honka to honk first when suddenly Kiba and the rest arrive. In the end, Isay is unable to get any action, which makes him as depressed as a Discord mod who realizes his kitten is actually a dog with a jumbo PP. Riaz senses Isay's detection and hugs him, which restores Isay's soul. Seeing this, Aquino wonders if perhaps Riaz has fallen for their loser manservant. As Isay and Asia are about to leave to distribute some magic circles, Riaz reveals that this will be the last week they will be doing this dumb job. Just when Isay is about to cheer, Riaz states they will need to first find themselves a familiar to do this task for them. On that note, Riaz reveals her familiar to Isay, which is a bat that can transform into a girl. Seeing Riaz's familiar, Isay realizes she is the same girl who handed out the magic circle to him on his date with Amano. Aquino shows her familiar next, which happens to be an imp. Kaneko has a cat named Shiro as a familiar. When Kiba is about to show his, Isay tells him to go die in a war as a man should not be yapping this much. Kiba just laughs while Riaz informs Isay and Asia that having a familiar is very important as they can do menial tasks for their masters. Asia then asks how they can get a familiar. Before Riaz can answer, they are interrupted by the student council president, Sona, and her gang. Aquino then reveals to Isay that Sona is also a high-level devil like Riaz. On that note, Sona introduces the Gremory family to her latest addition, Saji, who works as her pawn. In return, Riaz tells Sona she has added Isay and Asia to her family. As Isay tries to bond with Saji since they are on the same rank, Saji scoffs and tells him he is disgusted to even be in the same room as him. Just when Isay is about to give Saji a wedgie, Sona tells her servant to behave. Saji instantly cleans up his act and shakes hands with Isay and gets all flirty with Asia. Enraged, Isay steps in, leading to a stupid fight between him and Saji. In the meantime, Sona and Riaz discuss how they are going to find familiars for their pawns. But since only one house can recruit a familiar at a time, Riaz and Sona decide to settle this affair by playing badminton. Riaz teams up with Aquino and Sona takes her vice president, Shinra. Outside the court, all the boys gather to watch the top beauties of their school. In reality, all they want to see is their tighty-whities so they can have a 20-hour edge session. In the end, the girls were unable to settle the score, so later Riaz and Sona decided they will play dodgeball. However, this time, their entire house will join them too. That night, Isay finds himself unable to sleep, so he heads to Asia's room, who tells him to come in. Isay blushes and tells Asia that it's too early for cream pies. Asia only looks at him in confusion since she was just inviting him inside her room. After chatting a little, they head to the gym to play some dodgeball. Isay hands the gang some headbands which he made as a token of gratitude. Finally, Sona and her house show up, setting the stage for some demonic dodgeball. As the match starts, Kaneko is instantly taken out by Sona's team. The match cranks up its intensity, but all Isay can think about is how hot all the girls look. Suddenly, Sona throws a ball straight at little Isay and his jewels. As Isay falls in pain, Asia rushes to help him out. She tells him to show her where it hurts so she can give a boo-boo kiss, but this time Isay becomes embarrassed and tries to escape from Asia. In the meantime, Rias gathers her remaining players and tells them that they must avenge Isay's cracked nuts. True to their promise, Rias wins by breaking Saji's ability to make more ugly babies. Sona parts ways with Rias by graciously accepting defeat, but tells her that if it was a rating game, she would have easily won. Rias smiles and lets Sona be Delulu. Returning back to the clubhouse, Rias commends everyone for bringing victory. Once they are done celebrating, Rias tells Isay and Asia to buckle up because they are going to get familiars now. When Asia asks why the rush, Rias reveals they can only meet the familiar master when it's full moon. After teleporting to a jungle where familiars are made, the gang is greeted by the weird, smelly familiar master, Zatuji. Akino tells Isay that Zatuji was once a Pokemon master, but then his license was suspended when he was caught doing sus activities with Pikachu. Zatuji then takes the gang to a lake where he tells Isay he can make a water spirit called an Undyne his familiar. Isay becomes hopeful, thinking he will finally have something else other than the soap to stick little Isay in. Just then Undyne reveals herself, crushing all of Isay's hopes and hard-ons. He tearfully tells Zatuji that he would rather drag his nuts against glass than stick it in something that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger's sister. After rejecting Undyne, the gang comes upon a dragon which Isay is about to catch when suddenly it starts raining slimes. However, these slimes are Isay's best friends as they eat away all the clothes the girls had been wearing. Instantly, Isay decides that he wants these slimes as his familiar, which ticks off Rias, who wants to get rid of these pesky creatures. Suddenly, the dragon uses its lightning magic to burn away all the slimes, hurting Isay's feelings and dreams. In the end, Asia manages to forge a contract with the dragon and names it Rasay. After returning back, Akino tells Asia that dragons only forge contracts with those with a pure heart. On that note, Rasay electrocutes Isay since his soul badly needs shock therapy. Enraged by the disrespect, Isay vows to one day have a super strong familiar which will teach Rasay a lesson. The gang just laughs at Isay, knowing the only thing he's good at is bending just enough to give himself a guac. Isay's day starts off pretty crazy as he finds himself being married to Rias. His friends wonder how many goats did he sacrifice to get a woman like Rias, while his parents tell Isay they are proud of him. Something you losers will never ever hear from your parents. Isay becomes confused as he tries to wonder how did his relationship with Rias escalate that soon. Shrugging away these thoughts, Isay thinks about how he is glad he ate all those pineapples because now he's fully ready for his lady to slurp his pineapple-scented babies. Just when he's thinking about 69, a dark voice interrupts his plans, telling Isay that he is inside him. The scene suddenly changes and Isay now finds himself facing a blazing red dragon who tells Isay they are partners now and forever. All of a sudden, Isay screams in pain and realizes he had just been dreaming. The next day at school, Isay yawns in fatigue when Matsuda and Motohama come to check up on him. Upon learning he had a terrible dream, the boys reveal they also have bad dreams. Suddenly, Asia joins in the conversation by apologizing to Isay for waking him earlier. Upon learning their loser mouth breather friend has a hot chick waking him up, Matsuda and Motohama become angry all over again. The boys cry in pain as they reach a conclusion that Isay must be packing a Drake down there since all the cuties seem to be loving on him. However, since they are both desperate for a woman's touch, Matsuda and Marahama tell Isay to hook them up with anything that qualifies as a woman and has a snatch between her legs. In exchange, they will show him a VIP seat which will activate all his neurons at once. Isay agrees and soon finds himself in a locker located inside the girls' changing room. After seeing and examining more honkers than a doctor, Isay's luck ends up running out when he gets discovered by Kaneko. Upon receiving her knuckle sandwich, Isay ends up looking like an Instagram model without makeup and filters. Asia quickly tends to his swollen face and tells Isay that if he is that desperate to see girls in their birthday suits, then she can do that for him. However, Isay quickly stops Asia as he only likes seeing women bare when they don't consent to it. Later that day, Akino tells Rias how Isay has only received positive feedback from those who summoned him. While Akino is amused, Rias becomes rather worried that Isay will eventually lose confidence since failure is all he's familiar with. As Rias wonders how she can boost Isay's morale, Akino comments on how she cuddles Isay way too much. Just when she is about to ask Rias if she has fallen for the loser, Rias cuts off Akino and tells her to mind her business. Understanding that it's none of her beeswax, Akino bows her head and leaves Rias alone. Suddenly, a magic circle appears, upsetting Rias. Meanwhile, Isay rests on his jizz-stained bed and thinks how Kaneko must hate him now. To wash off his depression, Isay heads to the bathroom only to find Asia already present. Seeing her bare, Isay lets out a scream. As Isay rushes out of the bathroom, Asia stops him and tells Isay that she should call NASA cause his rocket seems ready to be launched. Upon being impressed by Isay's banana, Asia hugs Isay and tells him that he can stuff her taco up any time. However, Isay blushes and tells Asia that she is a very naughty girl when suddenly his mother walks in. A few minutes later, Isay is seen meditating in his room, but all he can think of is how he'd rather have a meet and greet session with Asia's melons. Just then, a magic circle appears in Isay's room and Rias pops up, asking to be deflowered. While Rias strips, Isay wonders if he trimmed his nails when Rias suddenly tells him to climax until he runs out of future kids. With that, she gets on top of Isay, making him realize that Rias is a true feminist because she likes being on top of a man. Just when little Isay is ready for showtime, another magic circle appears in his room. This time, an ugly, uptight maid appears, mocking Rias for her selection in mate. She also tells her how Sursetches would be greatly disappointed in her prompting Isay to inquire about this Sursetches person. Rias informs him that it's her brother, and then tells the devil maid that it's up to her who she sleeps with. Grafia hands Rias her shirt and then greets Isay by introducing herself as the servant of the Gremory family. Isay is instantly hooked by how beautiful she is, causing Rias to pinch his cheek. She then apologizes to Isay for increasing his hopes and departs with Grafia. The next day, Isay finds himself lost in thoughts when he's suddenly bamboozled by Matsuda and Marahama, who are upset over Isay setting them up with crossdressers. After gladly accepting the beating, Isay arrives at the clubhouse where he is greeted by Phoenix. Just when Isay wonders about who this jerko is, Grafia reveals that Phoenix is a high-ranking devil and also Rias's fiancé. As Isay watches Phoenix touch Rias, he becomes upset. Fortunately, Rias has enough and tells Phoenix that she doesn't want to marry a scum like him. Phoenix casually reminds her how pure blood devils need to marry other pure bloods, and after the Great War, their options are limited, so she can't back down now. Rias, however, remains firm in her opinion, which ticks off Phoenix, who tells Rias that he can't have her tainting his name. Just when he tries to show Rias how serious he is, Grafia stops them both, stating that she is here on behalf of Sursetch's orders, and informs them both that if Rias is hellbent on not marrying Phoenix, then she must go through a rating game with him. Phoenix eagerly accepts the terms since he is a seasoned player while Rias has no experience. To further mock Rias, Phoenix summons his evil pieces which easily outnumber Rias's evil pieces. Meanwhile, seeing Phoenix have a bunch of women, Isay begins to sob. When Phoenix learns that it's Isay's dream to have a harem bigger than Kiru. To piss off Isay, Phoenix calls one of his girls and begins playing with her in front of everyone. Unfortunately, his trick works as Isay angrily snaps that his face could make an onion cry. He then unleashes his dragon hand only to be kicked in the abdomen by one of Phoenix's girls. As Isay passes out, Riaz agrees to play the rating game. As Phoenix and his holes leave, Asia tends to Isay while Graphia tells Riaz that she has 10 days to train for the rating game. Curious, Riaz asks her why she has been given 10 days. Graphia blankly states that her house comprises of wankers and crybabies. Riaz agrees, and so the gang hikes up to a mountain where Isay is as breathless as the Onlafan's girl after blowing the whole football team. In the meantime, Riaz looks at Isay's ugly face and makes up her mind to turn this Zero into a hero. After arriving at the campsite, Riaz announces that they will begin training immediately, which ticks off Isay, who whines like the soy boy he is. Later on, while changing clothes, Isay recalls the past and asks Kiba why he told him he hates fallen angels and priests. Kiba sternly tells Isay that Riaz saved them all from a bad situation, and that is why they cannot afford to lose this rating game. For his first lesson, Isay learns how to wield a sword and is quickly overwhelmed by Kiba. Irritated, Isay tells Kiba that he should see him wield a sword at midnight when no one is looking. Up next, Isay and Asia are taught devil magic by Akino. While Isay lags behind, Asia instantly conjures up magic. Akino praises her and then shows both Asia and Isay how to manipulate magic. She tells Asia that she should take her training to the next level while Isay is instructed to focus on bringing out his magic. As Isay hunches his shoulders in detection, Akino advises him to use his imagination, as that is the key to summoning magic. However, when Isay tries to concentrate, all he can do is think of Akino and what she hides behind that white plot armor. Isay's next training involves him just getting wifey treatment by Kaneko. After getting a solid beating from her, Isay realizes he is completely and utterly useless. He can't use a sword, nor he has physical strength or magical energy to defeat his opponents. Seeing Isay so sad, Kaneko tells him that everyone has their own specialty. When Isay asks her what his speciality is, Kaneko blankly states that it's being a hard-working perv. Later on, Riaz tells Asia and Isay to cook. And they do. Asia uses magic to boil water, while Isay peels potatoes thinking about Akino's yummy motherly milk bags. Impressed, Asia urges Isay to work harder, and Isay does it by putting all his naughty imagination to bring out his immense magic power. In the end, Isay is left with 1,000 potatoes. Later at the dinner table, Isay imagines all the girls without their plot armor. Just when his spirits and schlong are back up, Riaz asks him how he feels about his training sessions. Isay admits that he was the weakest, which Riaz curtly tells him that he was indeed pathetic, but he also has a boosted gear, making him a formidable opponent. So she leaves Isay with only advice to not drag others down with him. This causes Isay to think about how he has to not only protect himself, but Asia as well, since he is the one who got her in this mess. Later on, the girls head to a hot spring for a good soak. As Riaz and Akino chat, their pumpkins bouncing with every word, Asia looks at them with envy until Kaneko tells her to stop feeling sad for her pancakes. Meanwhile, Isay tries his level best to get another banger for his late-night sessions. Kiba warns him to not do anything crazy, but Isay shuts him up, stating this is part of his training. He recalls how Kaneko herself told him how his speciality is to be a perv. That night, Isay, determined to become stronger, creeps up to Asia and asks her for a strange favor. After borrowing her clothes, Isay tries to practice his magic when suddenly Asia comes into his vision and suffers an attack. The following day, Riaz rounds her evil pieces and gives them a lesson on history. Centuries ago, devils, fallen angels, and God's pure angels fought aimlessly. In the end, nobody won, but the casualties were massive. Since devils tend to reproduce like pandas, they found themselves at the brink of extinction as only 3 noble houses survived this bloody war. Rias concludes her lesson by stating that this is exactly the reason why devils use resurrected humans as their servants and have raiding games which allows them to have real-life battle experiences. Worn out by yapping so much, Rias tells everyone they'll take a 5. As Asia tries to leave, Isay apologizes for last night, but she tells him to take it easy. Hearing that, Isay tells Asia that they need to keep everything a secret until his ultimate move is done being developed. Rias then calls Asia and asks her to reveal what she knows about the exorcists. And so the former nun informs the group that exorcists have 2 things at their disposal: holy water and the Bible. Using holy water on a devil will cause harm to their body, while reciting a verse from the Bible can cause emotional pain to a devil. That night, as Isay sneaks out of his room, he is greeted by Rias looking like a lady whose pom-pom speaks French. Rias then invites him for a late-night chat where she shares her doubts about the raiding game. Isay assures Rias that they will be successful given how hard she is working, but Rias informs him how Phoenix's family is one of the top elites and he is also immortal since he has the power of the Phoenix. To further scare Isay, Rias reveals that Phoenix not only has a power of regeneration, but he has also never lost a raiding game since its beginning. Realizing how the odds are stacked against Rias, Isay apologizes to her, but Rias assures her that this was her father's plan since the beginning as he wanted to give her an illusion of choice. Despite sympathizing with Rias, Isay asks her why she doesn't want to marry Phoenix. Rias reveals that not only does Phoenix's farts are deadlier than any atomic bomb, but she also wants to breed with a man she loves. Hearing this, Isay quickly rizzes Rias up by stating how he would bark for her and call her mommy every night.
Mommy.
Rias shrugs and tells Isay they need to focus on winning this battle as she is a Gremory who can't afford to lose. Isay becomes more dejected as he admits to Rias how he is aware that he's a failure. As he continues to yap about being unworthy of her, Rias takes his worthless bum in her motherly bazookas and assures him everything will be fine. When morning comes, Rias tells Isay to boost his sacred gear up to 12 times. And when he does, she orders him to fire at Kiba. Isay does that, and not only does he scare Kiba, he also manages to level a whole mountain. However, in the end, Isay collapses from fatigue while Kiba informs Rias that Isay's single attack was equivalent to a high-class devil's attack. Shifting her attention back to Isay, Rias tells him to believe in himself and his friends. With only 1 hour left till the raiding game begins, Isay recalls Rias's speech where she talked about how they shouldn't feel insecure just because they are up against Phoenix, who is only an unbeatable immortal and master of the raiding game. Now, in the present, Isay thinks his backside is going to get whopped just like the girl who has daddy issues, when suddenly Asia walks in her old clothes. Seeing her, Isay asks her what she is doing, causing Asia to take a seat beside him. She tells Isay that even though she is scared out of her Hello Kitty panties, she knows as long as she is with him, everything will be rainbows and unicorns. Isay further fuels her delusions by telling Asia that she is right. As long as they are together, everything will be okay. After gathering in the clubhouse, Rias and her evil pieces are greeted by Sona and her lackey. Sona informs Rias that she volunteered to oversee the proceedings of the raiding game since it is her first game after all. Just then, Grafia arrives and asks Rias if she is ready. Rias gives her the signal causing Grafia to reveal that once they teleport through the magic circle, they'll find themselves at a battlefield. When Isay questions about this supposed battlefield, Aquino reveals that a battlefield is an alternate space created for the game. Once Sona and her vice president leaves, Grafia reveals to Rias that Lucifer will also be overseeing this game. Hearing this, Rias becomes upset knowing her brother will be watching the game. When Isay learns Rias's brother is Lucifer, He becomes shocked until Kiba reveals that Surseches is one of the Satans, as he surpassed the previous Satan and became known as the Lucifer Satan. Asia then concludes that this is why Rias received the position as the heiress of the Gremory household. Graphia then instructs Rias and her evil pieces to use the magic circle, and when they do, they find themselves in a replica of the Kyu Academy. When Isay goes to peek outside, he finds the sky looking all wonky, making him realize he's in an alternate dimension. Graphia then informs the participants that Rias's base would be the occult clubhouse, while Phoenix will make his base in the principal's room. Hearing this, Isay becomes excited as he believes that if he manages to make it to the principal's room, he will get his promotion and become just as strong as the queen, which in this case happens to be Aquino. However, Aquino laughs and tells Isay that it will not be so easy. Kiba joins in, reminding Isay that Phoenix's pawns can also get their promotion if they manage to infiltrate the occult clubhouse. Isay hunches his shoulders in dejection until Kaneko hands him a communication device. Rias tells them they will be in contact with each other through the battle as Graphia announces its time. Meanwhile, in the principal's office, Phoenix tells his evil pieces to break Rias, so she comes to him crawling on all fours. With the game in full motion, Rias and her evil pieces prepare a battle strategy. She orders Kiba and Kaneko to set up traps in the forest. As the two leave, Rias instructs Aquino to use her illusionary magic on the forest and the sky. Once Aquino leaves, Isay asks Rias what he and Asia should do. Rias informs Asia that since she is recovery and support, she needs to be on standby with her. After taking a seat, Rias motions Isay to lie his head on her thunder thighs. However, just when Isay does as he's told, he realizes the world is beautiful and life isn't so bad after all. After crying like an idiot, Isay thanks Rias for allowing him just a profound experience, causing Asia to post in jealousy. Rias then tells Isay she is going to release the spell cast on him just a little. As she does that, Isay finds a new power surging through his body. Sensing Isay's emotions, Rias reveals that when she resurrected him, his body couldn't handle all the power, so she locked it up in multiple layers of spells. So the sensation he is experiencing right now is just a glimmer of his inherent power. At that moment, Isay realizes that the training camp was organized just so he could withstand his own power. Rias then tells Isay to not hold back, even if his opponent is a cute girl with bazookas the size of 2 Kanekos. Isay firmly assures Rias that he will make sure to bring victory to her. At that moment, Aquino informs Rias that all the preparations have been made. On that note, Isay sets out with Kaneko, while Rias briefs them that once they enter the gymnasium, they will not be able to avoid battle. Knowing things are about to get serious, Asia prays for Isay and everyone's safety despite being God's mortal enemy. On the other hand, Isay and Kaneko enter the gymnasium where they are greeted by Mira, Zulan, Il, and Nell. Upon analyzing Zulan, a rook, Kaneko informs Isay that her power can rival a queen's power. That's how strong Zulan is. Despite knowing the stakes, Isay tells Kaneko that they've always known the odds were stacked against them. With that, they dive into the battlefield with Isay facing the pawns and Kaneko taking care of Zulan. In the meantime, Phoenix dispatches 3 pawns, Shlia, Marion, and Bulant, to infiltrate the occult clubhouse. At the gym, Kaneko really shows Zulan who the boss is while Isay gets chased by the twins and Mira. However, he finally manages to overwhelm them and, as an act of retribution, uses his forbidden technique, dress break. As the girls lie vulnerable and bare, they abandon the battle and tell Isay he is an enemy to the womankind. On the other hand, Isay is on cloud 9, thinking about Asia and how this is all thanks to her. After all, he perfected his technique by using her as a target. Just then, Rias orders both Isay and Asia to abandon their position as Aquino is ready with her precautions. Once Isay and Kaneko exit the gymnasium, Aquino arrives and blasts the gymnasium, finishing off Phoenix's rook and pawns. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Kiba faces off against 3 enemies who are all eager for a piece of him. Back at the gymnasium, just as Kaneko and Isay prepare to make their move, a sudden blast strikes Kaneko. Wounded badly, Kaneko tells Isay she is sorry for not being more helpful to Rias. In response, Isay vows to take revenge on Yubaluna, who is also known as Phoenix's queen. As Kaneko fades away, Isay becomes angry and confronts Yubaluna. However, Rias assures him that Kaneko didn't die. It's just those who are unable to fight get teleported outside of the game where they are given medical assistance. Yet with anger surging in his veins, Isay tries to confront Yubaluna when Akino arrives and tells him to move along and let her handle the purple-headed Rapunzel. Once Isay leaves, Yubaluna tells Akino that she always wanted to fight the Thunder Priestess, prompting Akino to express her own enthusiasm for facing the well-known Bomb Queen. In the meantime, Isay is greeted by Kiba, who has successfully taken down Phoenix's 3 pawns. With this, Phoenix has 9 evil pieces in the game while Rias has 5. Once Kiba learns about Kaneko's fate, he reveals how she was excited to fight. Isay then tells Kiba that they must avenge Kaneko when Rias orders them to distract the enemies so she and Asia can launch a surprise attack on Phoenix. This surprises the boys, prompting Rias to reveal that she can't wait for Akino to do all the legwork now since she is facing the Bomb Queen. However, Kiba still emphasizes the risk, making Rias reveal her plan of not attacking Phoenix's body but his mind. In the end, the boys decide to trust Rias and head out to distract the enemies. Almost instantly, they are greeted by Phoenix's knight named Carlemagne, who has the kind of armpits that you losers would die to lick. Kiba charges in while Isay watches from the sidelines, completely impressed by Kiba and Carlemagne's sword skills. All of a sudden, Isay finds himself completely surrounded by Phoenix's remaining evil pieces. For appetizers, Isay is faced by Espella, Phoenix's rook, while his sister, Ravel, spectates the match from afar. At that moment, Isay realizes Phoenix is more of a perv than he is since he has his own sister added in his harem. Isabella delivers Isay blow after blow, and not the Hawk Tua spit on that thing kind until Isay steels himself and prepares to annihilate Isabella for Rias's honor. On the other hand, Rias and Asia arrive at Phoenix's base, but their sneak attack fails when Phoenix tells Rias he had been waiting for her. Back at the battlefield, Carlemagne is baffled by Kiba's sword collection and wonders if he has multiple sacred gears. Kiba then reveals that he doesn't have multiple sacred gears, but has the power to create magic swords. On the other hand, Isay uses Dressbreaker on Isabella, and when he uncovers her naughty bits, he quickly takes a snapshot and saves it in his mind for later. In the end, Isbelia is retired from the game, shocking Ravel, who thought Isay was just a loser. Just when Isay is about to high-five his private, Ravel tells him to look up. When he does, Isay finds Rias and Asia facing Phoenix. Surprised to see Rias making a direct attack, Isay gets told by Ravel that Rias never had a chance of winning against Phoenix since he's immortal. With that, Ravel instructs the furry pawns to take down Isay. On top of that, he also receives attacks from Cirrus, another evil piece belonging to Phoenix. However, with Rias occupying his mind, Isay is unable to focus until Rias herself commands him to crush his opponents for her. Hearing that, Isay urges the Red Dragon to lend him immense power. Within seconds, the boosted gear transforms into something more deadly. Isay quickly tells Kiba to merge his attack with him, and when he does, Isay unleashes the power of the boosted gear, creating a ground of swords which instantly takes out all their opponents. However, their victory is cut short when Akino is defeated by Yubaluna. At the same time, Kiba gets annihilated by Yubaluna, who quickly arrives to soil Rias's victory. Growing overconfident, Phoenix tells Rias to give it up as she is just prolonging Isay's misery. Meanwhile, Ravel complains to Yubaluna that she sure took her sweet time. Yubaluna replies, revealing a vial, and tells Ravel that she had to seek additional help in order to defeat Akino. When Isay asks them what's in the vial, Ravel reveals that it's called Phoenix Tears, a treasure of her family which instantly cures any wound. Isay grits his teeth in anger and rushes inside Phoenix's base, seeking for the Queen's power. When he receives it, he instantly arrives to help Riaz, who is getting clapped by Phoenix. However, Yubaluna moves swiftly and tries to harm Asia, when Isay quickly steps in and shields her. However, when Asia faints from the shock, Isay vows to finish Phoenix off. As he charges at Phoenix and Yubaluna, Isay ends up falling. Spectating the match from another location, Sona states that using too much boosted gear has harmed Isay's body. Yet even then, Isay assures Riaz to continue fighting and not submit. Ticked off, Phoenix personally fights Isay and vows to burn him, causing Riaz to resign from the game, all so she can protect Isay. As Isay floats away, he hears the Red Dragon's voice again. This time, he tells Isay that he is not using his full extent, which will make the white guy laugh at him. When Isay asks who this white guy is, the Red Dragon reveals they are destined to fight one day. With that said, the Red Dragon urges him to seek his help, the almighty D-Drag. Suddenly, Isay wakes up and is greeted by Grafia, who informs him how they lost because Riaz wanted to protect his worthless life from Phoenix. Isay begins to cry until he realizes he's all alone. He asks Grafia where everyone is, prompting her to reveal they are all attending Riaz and Phoenix's engagement party in the Devil Realm. As Isay cries some more, Grafia smiles and hands him a magic circle, which will teleport him directly to the engagement party. She then tells Isay that Sursech said if he's that down bad to bust a demonic load in Riaz, he better hurry before someone else claps her. Just when Grafia disappears, Isay is greeted by Asia, who is ready to breed him. However, Isay controls his meat gear, boosted Dong, and tells Asia that he must first save Riaz from being drenched in Phoenix's nectar. Meanwhile, in the Devil Realm, Riaz realizes she'll have to mentally switch to airplane mode every time Phoenix starts loading his baby gravy into her corrupted hard drive. Just when the engagement party starts, Isay shows up and announces that Riaz will ride his meat roller coaster instead of Phoenix's used shrimp. Just then, Sursech arrives and tells Phoenix that he wants to see one last duel for Riaz's demonic snatch, so he and Isay must duke it out and prove who is worthy of making a down payment on his sister's womb. As the battle begins, Isay vows to defeat Phoenix in 10 seconds and calls upon D-Drag's ultimate power. Then, using the balance breaker, a new skill, Isay pounces on Phoenix. During the fight, Isay uses Asia's cross, making Phoenix realize that Isay gave up his whole arm to the dragon in order to save Riaz from him. However, just when Isay is about to win, he runs out of power and ends up collapsing. Phoenix, thinking he has won, grabs Isay, who throws holy water on his ugly face. As Phoenix finds himself jolted by the sudden attack, Isay prepares to unsubscribe him from life when suddenly Ravel arrives and rescues her brother. As the match ends, Riaz and Isay soar off on a griffin's back. Mid-flight, Riaz grabs Isay by the face, plants a soul-draining, spine-tingling, baby-making kiss on him, causing Isay to vow that he'll be her ride or die both on the battlefield and in the bedroom. Did you like Isay's comeback from the afterlife? If you did, comment, "I love Op," and watch more anime recaps here.